I think there are so many parallels with my own story as well here. And I do speak with a lot of entrepreneurs. And I think there is even a study that like a lot of entrepreneurs succeed because they're trying to fill a hole, right? They're trying to prove something to somebody. And yes, that can lead to external results. But as you said, the internal starts to speak so loudly at times that you can't ignore. So can you speak a
Yeah.
little more on that, right? That initial period of success, I think, which maybe we all go through at one level, chasing something and trying to hold on to it like for dear life. And then even then it is not enough.
Yeah, exactly. It's realizing that everything we do is driven by something. It's motivated by something inside of us that needs more fulfillment, that there's a sense of lack that we're not even aware of, that inherited stuff from our family structures, social systems and groups. And so, yeah, we're motivated by filling these gaps inside of us. And we may not know what's driving us because it's so deep, but that we then pursue social prestige or control or safety through the work or through relationships and so forth. And it was partly, I was always encouraged, I was very lucky with my parents, my home environment that encouraged me to follow my bliss, as Joseph Campbell would say. And so that was early on was actually a challenge for me because I couldn't stay focused on one thing very long. And so I was just jumping around between many things. But ultimately, the tortoise wins the race. So over time, I started getting very good at many different disciplines. But yeah, ultimately, I was still living for outcomes, even though I was doing amazing things and working on amazing projects. I started to realize you could be doing the most incredible things in the world if you're not present with them, if you're not engaged with the actual doing of it, then you're still just living for outcomes, which means you're not really here. And that your soul or your spirit, whatever you want to call it, it needs nurturing, it needs validation, and you work. And sooner or later, the inner work that needs to be done will surface.
Yeah. And one of the things which is very difficult for people in high performance mode is silence. It's very difficult to be still. And as you spoke about meditation, can you share how painful that was? And then,
Oh my gosh.
as you went through that, what did you discover about yourself?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I tried out all different, in classic entrepreneurship fashion, I tried out all different forms of meditation and mindfulness and reading books on everything, videos, and then starting my own practice, journaling and just being a retreat junkie essentially, and absorbing everything there was to absorb. And so what I came across was the 10-day silent retreats that you can take all over the world. And yeah, when you first do that, it's such a shock to the system because we're not used to being in stillness. Nowhere in society growing up is there an institution that promotes being with yourself in silence, be comfortable, just sitting still, even all of these things. And so when you first do this and encounter yourself in this new unexplored space, the mind goes crazy because it's so used to being in the driver's seat. It's so used to being in control, and you're always steering and looking for external captivation, which has its place too, right? We're suddenly in this 3D realm full of shapes and sizes and colors, and it's such an adventure to be here and to be born. And so we shouldn't become infatuated with the external. But ultimately, that it's a temporary experience, everything outside of us, because life is always changing. That's its nature. And so to sit still with oneself and be just present and focus on your breath and your sensations, it just rattles your system. The mind starts to go crazy because it's used to being a control freak. And so the things that you encounter, it's different for everyone. But for me, in my case, it was a lot of fantastic visions, which are ultimately just distractions, right? So in my meditations, I would have these just, I don't know if they're hallucinations or not, but you essentially experience incredible bliss here or there. And some people have more negative experiences that ultimately, in both cases, are just distractions from being present, from not being in your mind, but being in your body. Yeah, it's the first time it really shocks your system and it takes a while. But ultimately, we've spent decades living in the head and living for outcomes. And then to think that just within a few days, right? Usually on the second or the sixth day of these silent retreats is when it kicks in, that we break away from kind of these ingrained patterns of obsession with the thought stream.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that.